Let me refresh. Let's bring some things up. Where we left off was, did you facilitate the payment for the Steele Dossier for the Hillary Clinton campaign back in 2016? Because you were the CFO. You acknowledged that. You also said, in response to my question, that this payment was not something that I was aware of, quote unquote. Those are your words. Interesting things have occurred since then. John Podesta actually testified to a committee of Congress, and John Podesta testified to a question about, was Gary, meaning you, was he day-to-day, hands-on, signing every check? And so John Podesta testifies, actually he was under a deposition with a committee here in Congress. He says yes.
Sir, again, I don't know what the press is talking about. I remember a meeting with the senator. It was a good thought.
Did you meet with Senator Baldwin in May with respect to 13D?
I think that it's on my public calendar that I met with Senator Baldwin. I meet with senators and representatives.
Okay, so here's what we
regular
I need to
basis.
get from your public calendar if you actually met with Senator Baldwin. I think the committee would like to know that. In this meeting with Senator
think I
Baldwin's
did.
staff, did you speak to an organization called We the Investors?
I have no memory of that.
Mr. Gensler, the no memory routine from a lot of appointees is really getting old.
Magnificent, truly magnificent. What a masterclass in bureaucratic misdirection, the kind only Washington could produce. Welcome back to Free Thinking. I'm Liberty, and if you're sick of the DC elite getting caught with their hands in the cookie jar and then claiming total blissful ignorance, you are in the right place. We just watched Gary Gensler, chairman of the SEC under the previous administration, the very man who wrote the book on financial transparency, tell a committee that his job as the chief financial officer for the Hillary campaign was apparently to just hand out gold coins and then immediately forget where they went. He couldn't be bothered to track 7 figures paid to bank all a phony intelligence dossier used to illegally spy on a political rival. His defense? I was just checking the gap compliance. Translation: balancing the books, not the truth. I'm sorry. But if your corporate CFO claimed they had no idea they funded industrial espionage, you wouldn't just fire them, you'd call the authorities. But in Washington, it's a gold-plated retirement ticket. Speaking of retirement, the sheer timing of Gensler's career exit is its own scandal. The man runs the accountability police for 4 years, claims zero accountability for his own past, and then poof, customarily resigns the very second the new administration is sworn in. It's almost like he had a day one expiration date and was racing the clock. I guess his fiduciary duty ran out the minute accountability became mandatory. So here's the deal, patriots. We have to call this out. Hit that like button, subscribe to Free Thinking, and drop a comment below. What is the official DC political term for resigning seconds before you're scheduled to be fired? Stick around, because we've only scratched the surface.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Gensler, welcome back. Hey, do you remember where we left off, you and I?
I do. You're a very good questioner, sir.
All right, well, let me refresh. Let's bring some things up. Where we left off was, did you facilitate the payment for the Steele Dossier for the Hillary Clinton campaign back in 2016? Because you were the CFO. You acknowledged that. You also said, in response to my question, that this payment was not something that I was aware of, quote unquote. Those are your words. Interesting things have occurred since then. John Podesta actually testified to a committee of Congress, and John Podesta testified to a question about, was Gary, meaning you, was he day-to-day, hands-on, signing every check? And so John Podesta testifies, actually he was under a deposition with a committee here in Congress. He says, yes, I don't know if he signed the checks, but he was there every day, meaning you. So let's circle back. Were you aware of the fact that the Hillary Clinton campaign actually paid for the Steele Dossier, which unleashed one of the worst issues of intelligence malfeasance that our nation has ever seen?
No, sir, I answered this 6 months ago, and this is the same answer today. No.
You weren't aware of what was going on? Mr. Gensler, I find that very interesting because, if I listen to some of the people and the staff that have left the SEC, you're very aware of everything that is going on. It's actually your MO. You're very hands-on. So you're going to tell the committee right now, you had no idea that the Hillary Clinton campaign, of which you were the CFO on, sent money to Perkins Coie for a dossier that was phony, that led to the spying on of a presidential campaign in 2016. You were not aware of any of this?
Look, sir, as a chief financial officer in a political campaign, I was not aware of what a law firm was doing with some of the monies that they got.
Now, I find that interesting because in some of your other rhetoric about CFOs in the public sector, the private sector of our economy, you are very tough on CFOs. You've said on the record on many occasions that CFOs have a fiduciary responsibility to the organizations that they cover, that they should be aware of everything that is going on. So how is that a standard you hold CFOs in the private sector to, but you don't hold yourself to that same standard?
That's not a standard that the SEC holds CFOs to. It's about their financials and that the financials are put together in accordance with GAAP and that the numbers are accurate. And that they're
So did you accurately pay for the Steele Dossier
regards.
out of the Hillary Clinton campaign?
Sir, I learned about that way after President Trump was a president and Hillary Clinton was a private citizen.
All right, well, let's move on. We'll probably circle on that another time. I want to reference a story in Capital Account from June 13. Mr. Chairman, I ask for unanimous consent for the story be entered into the record.
Without objection.
The story notes that you met with Senator Tammy Baldwin in May about the SEC's proposal related to the 13D beneficial ownership disclosure, at which time you allegedly asked Senator Baldwin's staff, allegedly, to contact an organization called We the Investors to submit comment letters in favor of the 13D proposal. Subsequently, the SEC was flooded with 350 plus comment letters from so-called individuals, but mostly form letters stamped with the moniker We the Investors in favor of their proposal. It appears to me that you have engaged in astroturfing to advance your own agenda. Is this true? If this is true, is this a serious breach of impartiality that would violate the spirit, if not the letter of the law of the APA?
Sir, again, I don't know what the press is talking about. I remember a meeting with the senator. It was a good thought.
Did you meet with Senator Baldwin in May with respect to 13D?
I think that it's on my public calendar that I met with Senator Baldwin. I meet with senators and representatives.
Okay, so here's what
regular
I need to
basis.
get from your public calendar if you actually met with Senator Baldwin. I think the committee would like to know that. In this meeting with Senator
think I
Baldwin's
did.
staff, did you speak to an organization called We the Investors?
I have no memory of that.
Mr. Gensler, the no memory routine from a lot of appointees is really getting old. You guys are discussing and leading some of the various regulations facing our economy. So to come before a committee of Congress, have no idea what you talked to with a senator's staff about 13D?
The meeting was with the senator, sir.
All right, well then, if you don't recall what you said to a United States senator about key issues facing our economy
No,
from a regulatory basis,
Please, sir.
that's a real problem,
You're
don't you
a good
think?
questioner, but please, sir, that story is not one that I would confirm. It's not a story that I believe is accurate.
Let me ask you a question, broad base. Do you think it's appropriate for the chairman of the SEC, or frankly the head of any agency, to engage with outside groups to accomplish the agenda they want to see through rulemaking?
We are responsible under the Administrative Procedure Act to hear from outside parties, market participants, constituents in your district, members
No,
of
that's not my
Congress.
question. We
We're-
want to hear
we're
from outside
obligated.
groups.
We're
Is it
obligated
okay
to
to foment outside groups to help you
Gentlemen's
accomplish what you want to
time's
see?
You know, I need a vacation after watching that. My brain hurts from tracking the mental gymnastics. We just spent minutes watching Gary Gensler try to convince a congressional committee that he's the financial equivalent of the absent-minded professor. Every time I think Washington has hit its limit on convenient amnesia, someone like him strolls in and proves me wrong. No memory. Didn't know. Can't recall. At this point, it's less testimony and more improv theater. Let's be honest, if this were a conservative CFO, the same crowd defending him now would already have the pitchforks polished. But when it's one of their own, suddenly accountability becomes an optional elective. It's funny how the same people who demand corporate transparency treat political transparency like it's stamped for party use only. And let's talk about this little side plot, the SEC apparently nudging We the Investors to flood the system with copy-paste comment letter. That's not democracy in action. That's astroturf with a government badge. Bureaucratic activism dressed up as public engagement. And they wonder why Americans have stopped trusting institutions. When regulators start coordinating with fan clubs to push rules, we stop having rulemaking and start having rule bending. See, patriots, the real issue isn't just the dossier or one meeting on Capitol Hill. It's the culture that allows powerful people to pretend ignorance is integrity. The same folks who preach fiduciary responsibility to the private sector turn into philosophers of forgetfulness when it's their turn under the microscope. And guess what? Every time that happens, another brick of public trust crumbles. What makes this moment bigger than Gensler is what it says about the system he represents, a system where elite accountability only flows in one direction, where bureaucrats can erase their memory with the same ease they erase emails, and where we, the people, are expected to accept that as leadership. So here's my free-thinking take. If our leaders truly want credibility, maybe start by remembering what you signed, who you met, and where the money went. Because Americans are done playing along with this political hide-and-seek. I'll leave you with this: truth doesn't need a public relations team, and integrity doesn't need a subpoena. I'm liberty, and this is free thinking where memory loss isn't a strategy, and accountability is still in fashion. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video if you still believe transparency shouldn't depend on party lines. See you in the next one, Patriots.